Fox News chief political anchor and anchor of Special Report. A very busy man today from Des Moines, Iowa. It's Bret Baier joining us. Bret, thanks for joining us. So we have two lucky guys today, you and Lou, but I want to start with you first, Bret. If Donald Trump wins tonight, is he unstoppable? And if Ted Cruz doesn't, does this mean that he has been stopped?
Well, if Donald Trump wins tonight, he is in a great position for this nomination because he is in position, as we know, in New Hampshire with a 20-point lead in the polls going in, and he's well positioned down the road. So it is a big step tonight if he wins in Iowa. If Ted Cruz stops him here, the momentum changes, and Donald Trump has to talk about, losing Iowa ahead of New Hampshire, and perhaps it opens the door in New Hampshire to someone else to shoot the gap. I don't think you can say it's a done deal if he wins tonight, because we have a long way to go before the nomination and getting to that magic number of delegates.
Yeah, hey, Bret, it's Harris. It's been interesting. The forecast has changed a little bit, and so now it looks like voters there in Iowa will have a better day and evening to work with regard to the snow that's coming into the forecast. And that could be an advantage, as I'm reading, for Donald Trump, because now there are this growing number of people who say they're going to caucus for the very first time. That's a big deal. Why?
Well, it's a huge deal because if you get the turnout number up and you look at the polls going in, first-time caucus goers overwhelmingly support Donald Trump. So if the number in the turnout goes up significantly, Donald Trump is to benefit. We should also point out on the Democratic side, if that number goes up, Bernie Sanders is the big beneficiary against Hillary Clinton. So it is all about, as we've talked about many times, who comes out. The first-time caucus goers, sometimes it's intimidating, and if the weather is good, as it looks like it will be, it's less so.
Yeah, very interesting. We're going to continue with you, Bret, but I want to make everybody aware of what they're looking at on the left side of their screen. Obviously, that's Donald Trump at a lectern. That's Waterloo, Iowa. He's giving a rally there at the Ramada Inn and Convention Center, I understand. The candidates have been doing this all morning long. We've been watching them. We're not going to listen to this right now, but we just want to let you know that we're monitoring it for any news. And Sandra, what's interesting about this is that day when you go and you press the flesh and you get out there. So this is just one of the ones that's going on right now.
Yeah, and we'll obviously bring you anything game-changing that might come out of that. But, Bret, as we do look at Donald Trump speaking right now, and with expectations so high for a Donald Trump victory, what could a surprise win by Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, how could the outcome tonight alter expectations for New Hampshire and South Carolina?
Well, I mean, if Marco Rubio won, that would be a game changer automatically. If he comes in second, I think he gets a huge bounce out of here. A strong third, Rubio is fighting another day and likely is going to try to consolidate the establishment lane. You have others who could perform well here. Dr. Ben Carson has been in a strong fourth and had obviously a lot of support that fell off. He may be able to surprise tonight. And then you have the past caucus winners, Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee. I think how they play, especially in the rural and more conservative parts of Iowa, will determine whether Ted Cruz has a good or bad night, because obviously that splits that evangelical vote.
I want to go to our other one lucky guy sitting right here on the couch. Lou, momentum, enthusiasm. It looks like it's with Trump. Cruz has an incredible ground game. It is, many are saying, a must-win for Ted Cruz today. But anything that happens, it's all kinetic. It's going to affect the messages and the strategies coming out tonight. What do you expect is going to happen?
Well, what I expect is a real test of whether or not Donald Trump is all that he appears to be. Every poll shows so much energy and excitement around his message and him personally. And it's one of the questions I think also, I'm eager to hear from Bret as to what we are seeing in terms of the expression of that energy. Who's got the doggone bumper stickers? Who's got all of those placards out there? And how many guys and gals are running around, say the age of somewhere around 21 to,
like you,
to 30, with their badge of affection for a candidate? Is it Trump? Is it Cruz? Is it Rubio? Is it Carson? What can you see?
You heard Lou. We know who has the hats, those red hats, because we see them all over. It's Donald Trump. Who's got the bumper stickers? Who has the energy? I mean, does Bernie Sanders and the Democrats just have a monopoly on the young voters? What are you seeing?
Well, listen, on the Republican side, in recent days, the Cruz crew is out and about. They are very organized. They obviously have a lot of people throughout the state trying to knock on doors, and they've been pretty well versed on both social media and on the ground. So I think they're formidable, very formidable. I think Rubio has seen in recent days a surge, and you ask people around Des Moines, which obviously is a more moderate area in the big picture of the state, one that went overwhelmingly for Mitt Romney in 2012. You hear a lot of Rubio, you hear some Trump, but you then look at the people who are showing up at these Trump rallies, and the numbers are astounding. I mean, they're Bernie Sanders numbers, and that's where the momentum is, at least emotionally. If it is that way organizationally, by the time we get to tonight, Donald Trump's going to have a great night.
Okay.
Bret, I just want to ask you, you know, the evangelical vote has been historically so significant to Iowa, but obviously with the inclusion of Trump, it might change the game in Iowa. How important do you think the evangelical vote will be in relationship to Ted Cruz tonight?
You're right. That's a great question, Megan. I think that it may be less important tonight if we see Trump early on with big leads in some of these more conservative areas. That will be a shocker. Traditionally, you're right that evangelical voters play a big role here, and Ted Cruz has really worked to get that vote out. But as I mentioned, others have too. And if Mike Huckabee does well, that's a horrible night for Ted Cruz, because it's in the same bucket of voters that you're going for.
Bret, you hear Rubio, Cruz, Trump, Rubio, Cruz, and Trump, these three names. Is it just about these three? I mean, you just mentioned Mike Huckabee, who won. We've seen him won in past years. Are voters just focusing on these three candidates? Should we be focused on the others as well?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a possibility of surprise here for anyone. I mean, I was just talking to Carly Fiorina. She said, you guys are all wet, and you don't understand what we're seeing out here. And she says she's going to surprise. You have Rick Santorum, who obviously feels he has support and has traveled to all 99 counties. I just talked to Chris Christie at an event at Drake University. He says he's going to be the top governor out there. He's going to finish ahead of Bush and Kasich and Huckabee, he claims, and that is going to give him momentum into New Hampshire, which is really where all of those establishment candidates are going to fight. So I think the storyline is much more beyond Trump and Cruz and Rubio, and it really will set up this race going forward.
Which is why, Bret, I'm going to go back to Donald Trump. I'm going to say, I quote him from an interview over the weekend, and he said, I don't have to win it. He said, I'm doing really well with the evangelicals, so you know what, we have a really good chance. If there is not a Donald Trump victory, what does that do to his campaign? How does that affect his momentum?
Well, listen, he's got a huge lead in New Hampshire. What it does, though, is that he will not have won. And in his words, he will be a loser in the first state. And Ted Cruz will then try to catapult that and try to affect New Hampshire and to affect the SEC states. So it changes the dynamic if he doesn't win. But a lot can happen.
Yeah. You know, with regard, before we let you go, Bret, with regard to those evangelical voters, you were talking about who else has been kind of focused on them. We saw Donald Trump, Bible in hand, just a couple of days ago, and he was talking about the Falwell endorsement, which you haven't heard him talk a lot about endorsements, that one and Sarah Palin maybe, but he was speaking specifically to those voters about faith. So it is interesting because he was perhaps early on one of the candidates that we thought you might not see do that, but he was certainly embracing that. And then you've got Huckabee. You mentioned him. He went to his event the other night.
Yeah, and listen, all of the candidates play that way in Iowa. They don't usually talk as openly, some of them, on the trail other places, but in Iowa, faith is definitely a comfort zone for a lot of voters here. And I think you have Sarah Palin and Jerry Falwell Jr. campaigning with Trump today. They're hoping, the Trump campaign's hoping, that moves the needle. Rubio's been talking a lot about his faith as well.
Hey, Bret, it sounds like a lot of people in Iowa finding religion. That's inspiring. Is there any correlation to the fact there's a caucus tonight?
Yeah, maybe so. There's going to be some candidates praying for some good numbers, I think.
Amen, brother.
That is for sure. They're all going to find religion.
Amen.
And we're going to find you later on, Bret, as you'll be covering this. We will be glued to the TV. Thanks for joining us.